Somewhere in Japan right now, there is a poem sitting on the internet that you are not supposed to read out loud. There is a bathroom stall you are not supposed to sit in. There is a train you are not supposed to fall asleep on. And there is a village you are not supposed to drive toward. Because the people who have, according to every account that exists, have never been seen again. This is the most terrifying corner of Japanese folklore. And by the end of this video, you will never look at a late-night train, a school bathroom, or a stranger in a mask the same way again. Japan has given the world anime, bullet trains, vending machines that sell literally everything, and some of the most deeply unsettling horror stories ever put into words. And what makes Japanese urban legends different from Western ghost stories is this. They don't happen in haunted mansions or abandoned hospitals. They happen on your way home, on a Tuesday, while you're just trying to get back after a long day. Let's start with the woman from The Hook. She has been spotted across Japan since at least the 1970s. Tall, well-dressed, always wearing a surgical mask, which back then was not nearly as common as it is now, so it stood out. She approaches people walking alone at night and asks one question. Am I beautiful? Most people, being polite, say yes. She removes the mask. Her face is disfigured in a way that makes answering that same question a second time feel completely impossible. And she does ask again, quieter. Am I beautiful now? Say no, bad outcome. Say yes, also bad outcome. The only known escape, which people have theorized about with complete seriousness, is to call her average, mediocre, nothing special. That specific response apparently throws her off just long enough for you to leave at speed, which says a lot about how rare honest feedback is, even among spirits. Her name is Kuchisake Onna, the slit-mouthed woman. And before anyone calls this old folklore, in 1979, sightings across Japan became so frequent that schools started escorting children home in groups, teachers walking kids to their front doors, police issuing formal warnings in certain areas. Something in 1979 genuinely frightened people enough to change daily routines, and nobody has ever fully explained what that was. Now, while you're sitting with that, there is a second figure said to haunt train stations and quiet roads at night, and her story starts even more tragically. A young woman fell onto railway tracks and was struck by a passing train. She didn't survive, but her spirit came back, and it moves low to the ground, pulling itself forward with both arms, making a fast, rhythmic scraping sound against the pavement. In Japanese, teke teke describes exactly that kind of sound. That noise is her only announcement before she reaches you. She is extraordinarily fast, and if she spots you on an empty road, she will chase you. But unlike Kuchisake Onna, this one does give you a chance. She stops and asks, "Where are my legs?" There is one correct answer. You have to say, Meishin Expressway. That specific answer, that specific expressway, and she lets you go. Say anything else and she doesn't. Now think about that for a second. You are being chased down an empty road at night, completely terrified, and your survival depends entirely on whether you can recall the name of a specific highway on demand. Under pressure, while running. This is genuinely the most stressful trivia question in human history, and nobody signed up for it. Her name is Teke Teke, and she is considered one of the most well-known spirits in all of Japanese urban legend history. Both of these, Kuchisake Onna and Teke Teke, operate outside. Open roads, empty streets, which almost feels like there's room to breathe, room to run. But the next set of legends removes even that comfort, because they're set somewhere you visit every single day and never think twice about. A school, specifically, its bathroom. There is something universally uncomfortable about school bathrooms. Every country, every culture. Nobody has ever walked into a school bathroom and thought, yes, this is a pleasant environment. I feel very relaxed here. They are always slightly too quiet, slightly too far from the main building, and the lighting is always doing something suspicious. Japan took that universal discomfort and said, what if it was so much worse? Japanese schools are the setting for a genuinely alarming number of urban legends, which raises a fair question about what exactly is going on in the Japanese education system. The answer, apparently, is ghosts. Lots of them. But one in particular has been frightening students since the 1950s, and she lives specifically in the girls' bathroom on the 3rd floor. The story goes like this. There is a young girl. Nobody knows exactly how she got there. The details change depending on who's telling it. but she never left the school. Her spirit stayed behind, and she made herself at home in the last stall of the third-floor bathroom. If you want to find out if she's real, you go to that bathroom, knock on the stall door exactly 3 times, and ask, "Hanako, are you there?" Sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes the door slowly opens on its own. And inside, sitting quietly, is a small girl in a red skirt with short bobbed hair, just looking at you. She doesn't chase anyone. She doesn't ask impossible questions. She just exists in there, which, depending on your personal fear threshold, might actually be more unsettling than anything active. Her name is Hanako-san, and she is so deeply embedded in Japanese school culture that most Japanese adults remember being dared to summon her as a child. Some of them did it. None of them will tell you what happened next with a completely straight face. Now, Hanako-san at least stays in her stall and minds her business. The next one is considerably less chill about the whole arrangement. Same setting, school bathroom, last stall. Except this time you sit down, and a voice appears from absolutely nowhere and asks you a very simple question. Red paper or blue paper? That's it. That's the whole question. Just a color preference. Very casual, very unsettling. Here's the problem. Red means something bad happens to you. Blue means something bad also happens to you. Different bad things, but equally bad. If you try to be clever and ask for a different color entirely, something worse happens. The only way to survive this interaction is to not answer at all and immediately leave, which is genuinely solid life advice for a lot of situations beyond this one. The spirit behind this is a young man in a red cloak who was apparently bullied so severely in life that he decided to haunt school bathrooms as his form of revenge, which is a very specific grievance to carry into the afterlife. His name is Aka Manto, and he has been a fixture of Japanese school horror since at least the 1970s. What makes Aka Manto particularly cruel is that the question sounds so harmless. What color paper do you want? It's the kind of thing someone asks before gift wrapping something. Except nothing about this situation involves gift wrapping, and by the time you realize the question isn't innocent, you're already in the middle of answering it. Japanese schools apparently decided that the solution to all of this was to simply never tell students, which means every generation finds out the hard way. And the bathroom is just the beginning of what Japan has hidden inside its most ordinary places. Because some legends don't live in locations at all. Some of them live inside words, inside stories, and those are somehow the most dangerous ones. Think about every horror movie you've ever seen. There's always something physical. A monster, a location, a person with bad intentions. Something you could theoretically run from, lock a door against, or at minimum, see coming. Japanese urban legends, for the most part, follow that same logic. And then there are two that don't. These next ones aren't creatures. They aren't places. They are just content, a story, a poem. Things that exist purely as information, and according to Japanese urban legend, the act of simply encountering them is enough to ruin you, which is a deeply unfair system when you think about it. At least teke teke gives you a chance to run. The first one is called gozu, which translates to cowhead. It is supposedly a story, just a written story, so terrifying that anyone who reads or hears it in full will be consumed by fear so overwhelming that they cannot function, shaking uncontrollably for days, unable to eat, sleep, or speak. Some versions say it ends in death. The story has apparently been broken into fragments intentionally, scattered so that no one person ever encounters the whole thing at once. Here is the deeply frustrating part. Nobody actually knows what the story says. The full version has never been published, never been confirmed, never been traced to any original source. It gets attributed to a famous Japanese science fiction writer named Sakio Komatsu, but there is zero evidence he ever wrote it. The story about the story is more documented than the story itself, which means gozu is technically a legend about a legend, and somehow that makes it more unsettling, not less. The absence of the actual content is doing all the heavy lifting here, and it is working extremely well. There is a certain irony in the fact that gozu's power comes entirely from people believing it exists. If everyone collectively agreed it was made up, it would immediately stop being frightening. But nobody wants to be the person who finds out they were wrong. If gozu is the legend that kills you with a story, the next one kills you with 11 lines of poetry. There is a poem written by a Japanese author named Yomota Inuhiko. It is called Tamino's Hell, and it tells the story of a young boy descending into the underworld as punishment for things he did in life. Dark subject matter, sure, but plenty of literature covers darker ground without incident. The specific problem with this poem is not what it says, it is what happens if you read it out loud. According to the legend, reading Tamino's Hell aloud brings something terrible down on the reader. The severity varies depending on who's telling it. Some say illness, some say a streak of genuinely awful luck, some say worse. Most versions of the poem you'll find online are narrated by text-to-speech software, specifically because human readers don't want to take the risk, which, again, is a completely rational response to something that is probably fine. Probably. What's interesting is that reading it silently, apparently, carries no consequence. It is the act of giving it a voice that triggers whatever the poem does. So it is less of a haunted text and more of a haunted performance, which raises the question of whether anyone has ever accidentally read it aloud while alone in their room and immediately regretted it. The answer, based on internet forums, is yes, multiple times. Both Gozu and Tamino's Hell operate on the same principle, that some knowledge carries a cost just for existing inside your head. Japan seems uniquely comfortable with that idea in a way most cultures aren't. But here is where it gets genuinely modern. Because in 2004, a young woman boarded a late-night train in Shizuoka Prefecture and noticed something wrong almost immediately. The train wasn't stopping. It just kept going, past every familiar station, deeper into the dark, and she was the only one awake to notice. Her name was Hasumi, and what she did next is the reason this story is still being talked about 20 years later. Instead of panicking quietly like a normal person, she opened up a Japanese internet forum called 2channel and started posting in real time. The train had been running for over an hour without a single stop. Every other passenger was asleep. The driver wasn't responding. And then the train finally stopped at a station called Kisaragi, a name that appeared on absolutely no map, in no database, in no official railway record anywhere in Japan. She got off. She was alone on the platform. Mountains in every direction. No taxis, no public phone, no other passengers, nothing. She kept posting, and the forum users kept responding, trying to help, pulling up maps, calling local railway companies, getting nowhere. At one point, someone on the forum told her to walk back along the tracks toward the previous station. She started doing exactly that. Then she heard drums in the distance, then bells. Then an old man with one leg appeared behind her on the tracks, warned her it wasn't safe to walk there, and then simply vanished. Her final post said her phone battery was nearly dead, that things were getting strange, and that she was going to make a run for it. After that, nothing. Hasumi never posted again. The legend of Kisaragi Station has since inspired films, music, and an entire genre of similar stories about mysterious stations across Japan. The real railway company in that region, Enshu Railway, eventually leaned into it so hard that they temporarily renamed one of their actual stations to Kisaragi Station for a promotional event. They sold replica tickets with Kisaragi as the destination. Those tickets sold out in 1 hour, which is very funny and also says a lot about human nature. Now, Kisaragi Station is frightening because of the unknown. You end up somewhere that shouldn't exist, and you simply cannot get back. Inunaki Village operates on a completely different kind of fear. Deep in the mountains of Fukuoka Prefecture, there is supposedly a village so isolated and so removed from modern Japan that a sign at its entrance reads, "The Constitution of Japan does not apply past this point." The village allegedly has its own rules, its own customs, and a strong preference for not receiving visitors. Electronics reportedly stop working the moment you approach. The sound of dogs howling follows you through the surrounding forest, even when no dogs are visible. The village may not even exist. What does exist is the nearby Inunaki Tunnel, which has a genuinely documented history of disturbing incidents going back decades. The tunnel alone is considered one of the most haunted locations in all of Japan. Whatever seeded the Inunaki village legend, it grew from something real, and that real foundation is exactly what makes the fictional parts harder to shake off. Both Kisaragi and Inunaki share the same core dread, the idea of going somewhere from which return is not guaranteed. That specific fear runs so deep in Japanese culture that it even found its way into something as ordinary as a taxi ride home. There are dozens of recorded accounts from taxi drivers across Japan, particularly after the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, of picking up passengers late at night who seem completely normal. They give an address, they sit quietly, and somewhere before the destination, the driver glances in the rearview mirror and the seat is empty. No door opened, no window, just an empty seat and sometimes a small wet patch where someone was sitting. The strange part, and this is the part that stays with you, is that many of these passengers were later identified. Young people who had died in the disaster, just trying, in whatever way they could, to find their way back home. And honestly, out of everything in this video, that one is the hardest to be afraid of.